I watch a lot of the podcasts, and I'm sitting in this chair. You've had a lot of legends, so I hope I can, live up to some of the stories.
You are a legend. Welcome to Inside Look. I'm Jeff Lyons, joined today by Mike Fetscher, legend, pitcher, baseball player, USI standout, of course, Nut Club extraordinaire, and 14 News alum. A few years ago, you walked out of this building, what did you say, 20 years ago?
20 years ago this week.
Yeah.
And it was on good terms.
I know. Yeah, I didn't mean it that way.
Oh, no. There's some people that whenever I was here, they kind of walked out on, they huffed and puffed and walked out. But, I'm at USI now, and it was just a better opportunity. I had young kids, so I didn't have to get up at 3:30 in the morning anymore and such like that. So I missed 14. I missed the family. I still, you gave me the tour, the nickel tour, as you said, through the station. So it's still good to see some familiar faces. But, I'm loving out USI. USI, as you said, is a part of me from my baseball days and in schooling and stuff. So it's kind of come full circle. But it's been 20 years ago this week.
Yeah. Well, we're glad to have you back here in the building. Don't worry about that. We have these little gremlins in here that blink.
Do we hit it on the side like we used to?
Yeah. He's talking about the background here for our listeners, which recycles every so often. That's how I know we're done. If that goes to black, then we're done.
Oh, okay.
So that's the ground rules. But anyway, to give a little background here, Mike Fetscher, and I've never heard anybody call you Mike. Does your mom call you Mike?
A lot of times it's Michael Wayne.
Michael Wayne.
Yeah, but I'm usually in trouble.
Everybody else calls you Fetch.
Yeah.
And you got two brothers. Were they Fetch Jr. and Fetch the Third,
or
did
Chad,
you get the name?
Well, there was enough space between me and my brother Chad. There's 5 years, so he went by Fetch. Then there was 2 years between them, and they called my youngest brother Sumo. They called Ryan was Sumo because he had this shirt with a sumo wrestler who looked like a baseball catcher, and it stuck to this day. So
I think you got the best of the names then. Fetch kind of makes sense with Fetcher and everything. So you went to Wrights High School, and you picked up baseball at a real young age, which is kind of how the story begins here.
Yeah.
So tell us about that. And you're left-handed, which is, I guess, an advantage, right?
Yeah, left-handed. But that's the only thing I do left-handed. Everything else I do right-handed, right-footed. I right, eat, whatever. Everything's right-handed except for throwing a baseball. So I don't know what happened if I was a kid and I just picked up a ball left-handed and, well, he's left-handed. Here's a glove, or something like that. So I picked up baseball at a young age, right down the hill from us to West Little League, and summertime they couldn't keep me away from that place. I grew up close to there, so every night I'd ride my bike down there or walk down there, and back in the 80s when the street lights came on, that was the time I come home. So it's every summer.
Those were the good old days when the street lights came on. So you're kind of bearing the lead, or maybe I'm bearing the lead, because you're an All-American baseball player.
Yeah.
So somewhere between West Little League and Wrights High School and USI, something happened. You ate your Wheaties, something. When did you know maybe you were just a little different than the other guys?
Maybe around the time I was 12. I threw a little bit harder than everybody. Then whenever you get into Pony League, that was 13 and 14. I had a coach that taught me a curveball and had that go with my with a fastball. And next thing you know, I'm striking a lot of people out. And it's like, hey, there might be something to this baseball thing. Then the Wrights career went great. Had several good years there. Now, my win-loss percentage wasn't very good. I joke with people, I won 5 games and lost 17.
Oh. But the pitching couldn't have been better, right?
But the pitching was good. The ERA was low and stuff like that. So then summertime, we would play Funkhauser. So that's back when American Legion kind of was the thing. Travel ball really wasn't established yet. And one of our assistant coaches was Gary Redmond, who coached the USI baseball team. Then that just led on to me to going to USI. And we had a lot of players off of that team, off my Legion team, or Wrights Mater Dei in this area in general that we played out there. And we had a lot of good seasons. Was fortunate enough to be around a lot of great teammates, coaching, and it was just a good time. And USI as a whole, back in the 90s, our baseball team did well. Our football, we don't have football yet.
Yeah, and basketball,
but basketball did well, won some national championships.
Sure.
Softball did well, cross country, everything. So, and what was kind of neat is all of us athletes at that time, we followed each other, and we'd go to each other's games. We'd go out after the games together and stuff like that. So that was kind of a neat time in USI's period.
Do you feel a lot of pressure when you were at USI and here you're All-American 3 years and they're winning games and people are afraid of you because you strike people out quite a bit? How was that for you on the mound? I mean, I guess you kind of grew up with it, so you didn't notice it, or?
I didn't really notice it. You just felt like you were a little bit better than the hitter, as a pitcher. So you just had confidence, I guess, would one thing, and not necessarily that you were stronger than somebody else or bigger or badder, but you just had confidence, and then you knew I had a great set of catchers. One of them played 10 years in the big leagues, Kevin Brown. Then you had a great defense behind you, so you just got to do your thing, and one thing led to another.
What's the relationship between the pitcher and the catcher? Like, who's running the show?
Well, I always tell, the pitchers are the best athletes on the team, as you can see if you look at me now. But you have a good relationship. A lot of times with Kevin, he called a great game. And if I shook him off or something like that, sometimes the ball would come back faster than I threw it in. You knew, all right, whatever he puts down, that's what I'm going to throw. So that was kind of our relationship, and we still stay friends to this day. I see him at football games. His kids go to Wright, so I would see him up at the football games and such like that. So
you didn't stay with baseball though. You came over into communications and television. You obviously you wound up here at 14 back in about 90 or 95, right? Okay.
Yeah. Well, I think I watched the Dean Webster podcast, so I think I kind of followed Dean's lead on that.
Yeah.
So
Dean drove a school bus and then came here,
Well, no, we both had the same psychology teacher, and we both didn't pass that class.
Oh, really? Same one?
Same teacher.
You're kidding
Dr.
me.
Palladino. But
okay.
So the coach comes up with me, and at the time I'm thinking, well, I'm going to get drafted. I'm going to play baseball. I'm not, this schooling stuff's for the birds and stuff like that. And the coach comes up to me after not doing so well in psychology, says, Mike, you got to take a summer class. And I was like, well, I don't, summer class to get eligible again. I don't know what to take. And they said, well, we've seen you do interviews and stuff like, just take a PR class, take a PR class. So I take a PR class, fell in love with it, changed my major to communications. Then the rest of that, I was making Dean's List, making great grades, fell in love with it. Then, led to a job up here at 14, which was just
that would have been Bob Jeffers, probably.
Bob Jeffers, that's right. And I see Bob whenever working out at USI now. I would see Bob, and I'd just go up to him and say, "There's the guy that changed my life," like that. So it was always kind of a neat deal.
He's a character too because he called horse races at Ellis Park for a while, so he had multiple. He was amphibious, as Mike Blake would say. He could do that and teach and everything else.
And he would come out to a lot of games. And, like if, say, it's the day I pitched on a Tuesday and I had his class on Wednesday, I'd come into his class and, I'd sit down with my books and stuff ready to learn. And he goes, hey, in that fourth inning, why did you throw a 3-2 curveball and start quizzing me on why I did something the day before? And I'm like, I don't even remember that, but or something like that. So that was a neat relationship that I had with him.
So you got out alive, you came here, and so now you're doing it for real. You're running camera, you're running, you're working the tape room, kind of, all production stuff like that. What was the best part of those years for you working here?
Oh, the best part was just, the closeness that we had, and I worked nights, I think, for about 3 or 4 years then with the kids coming along and stuff like that, and I didn't want to miss things, and I was umpiring baseball still at the time.
Right.
So I switched to Sunrise, and some of the best part of that is, we do the Sunrise show. Granted, you had to be here at 3:30 in the morning. But after the show, a lot of times we'd order breakfast, and you'd sit around, almost like a breakfast table with your family, and they kind of was my family, and so that was some of the fun stuff, and some of the stories. I mean, still to this day, we tell them, and you probably heard them 30 times, and we still laugh.
Hiding Byron Douglas's car was a classic.
That was
poor Byron. He really bore the brunt of a lot of the pranks and hijinks that went on around here, didn't he?
Well, he deserved it.
Well, I know he would be the first to tell you.
He would. So, and I noticed whenever I was walking around the station. I didn't see Byron. Did he know I was coming? Did he leave?
Is on vacation this week.
He planned it that way, I bet.
He always vacations in the first and fourth week of each month, so we kind of plan around that. But anyway.
But yeah, Byron would always leave his car keys, and he had that wonderful Ford Taurus, if you remember that thing.
Yes, I do.
In the top drawer of his desk, and I would drive that, sometimes down to the Bristol Myers parking lot or something like that, and we had the tower cam, and whenever he would do weather, we'd zoom in on his car, and he'd see his car, live on the weather, and he didn't know where it was. And then we would zoom out, and he's like, here's this car a mile away or something like that.
He'd have to walk to Bristol Myers and get it. Yeah.
He said I made him late for a school visit one time.
Oh, I'm
He's
sure
still
he
bitter
did.
about that.
Yeah. He holds a grudge sometimes. Well, we all do, So I wanted that you said something about umpiring there. So you would leave here and then go umpire games?
Yeah.
And what level were you umpiring baseball?
Let's see. So I started off doing the Little League and all that, kind of where everybody starts. And believe it or not, that is the hardest baseball to do. You see everything. You got the parents. Little League is the hardest and it pays the least.
Yeah.
But then I worked my way through high school, did some college games. Then eventually I did the Frontier League, which was the Otters, and the DuBois County Dragons had a team in the Frontier League at the time, and did 2 or 3 years of that. Then Sean started playing sports, and that really backed me off.
Your son, Sean.
My son,
yeah,
Sean.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So how do you learn how to umpire? Like, for example, in baseball, the strike zone. I mean, is it a little different for each umpire? I mean, how do you learn? Where do you make your mistakes? Not, I guess, at Little League, right?
You make your mistakes. You cut your teeth at Little League.
Yeah.
And part of that, being out of USI, they had officiating baseball, and it was a 1-hour PE credit. So I was like, well, let me just take that. I know the umpire that was teaching it.
Yeah.
So I took that my freshman year out at USI, and I tell people, I said, becoming an umpire made me a better baseball player because I knew what they could see, what they would miss, what you could get away with. Sometimes not totally legally,
right.
But some of those throwers. So I tell people, becoming an umpire made me a better baseball player. So, and the beauty about baseball, and I know they might go to the automated strike zone, but the human element, element of error in baseball is, I think, partly what makes it great. So you kind of pick up your zone, and a lot of coaches, I did enough high school games. They knew I was a pitcher, so my zone's going to be a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
That's just what they told me. But it was also, I thought, a fair zone that I didn't call a high strike. I called a low strike because the hitters are taught to swing low and the pitchers are taught to throw the ball low. So if I'm a little bit lower than most, that's just where the players are being taught. So that's kind of how my strike zone was. And I had a good rapport with the catchers. I'd come out and introduce myself, tell them kind of what I like the strike zone, but I also would tell them, hey, if I miss one that you think's a strike, don't throw a fit or something. Just say, hey, Mike, I thought that was there, or something like that. And we would have these great relationships with, during the game that people don't see because we got our mask on.
Right. And you can't hear them, of course, over the crowd and the yelling parents, if that's the case. And everything.
But one of my favorite stories doing the Frontier League is we're doing the DuBois County Dragons. And they always had what was called the beer batter. And, people in DuBois like their beer. And so if this guy strikes out, beer for that half inning or something is half price.
Well, there's a little pressure on you.
Yeah, so it comes by, and every pitch is, a ball or a strike, it's close now. You're getting either cheered or you're getting booed, and it comes to the 3-2 count. And, the pitch was maybe that far outside, but it was close enough that he should have swung at it. So I called strike 3. Everybody cheered. They got beer, and I never heard a word the rest of the night.
That's good. You keep the crowd happy and liquored
That's
up,
right.
and you can do just about anything
Absolutely.
out here. So now, does the umpire, you have to watch the ball, or you have to look somewhere? Like, what are you looking for? I guess it depends on which position you are. So if you're at home plate.
If I'm at home plate, I'm going to probably set up it the same way I do every time, so my head's about the same level. So, if I look up or look over, that's going to be a ball. I mean, you kind of set up in that zone. But then
when the pitch comes, you kind of squat down behind. I'm trying to think now. You don't really pay attention to. You probably pay attention to the umpires. I'm always looking at the hitter. But so you have to get down so that you can see the ball incoming.
Yeah.
And then judge right where it is in an millisecond.
Yeah. And you see so much of it that you do get trained, and you kind of know what a ball and a strike is. You will adjust per league. I'm not going to call something that I would call, say, an Otters game the same as I'm going to call a Little League game, where we're going to be there for 4 hours,
right?
And nobody's going to be happy.
Right. Too many.
So you let the game kind of adjust what you call it and how you call.
Yeah. What are the toughest plays to make a ruling on? Like some guy coming into first, or they got a guy.
Some of the toughest, is going to be kind of a tag play where it's a bang bang play. You got a guy sliding, you got dust kicking up, and all that other stuff. So you're going by instinct. A lot of times, like at first base, if you have a bang bang play, you use not only your eyes but your ears,
because you
can
listen
hear
for the ball to hit the glove. Right?
So when their foot hits the bag, you hear like a dull thud because it's hitting the base, but then you hear that pop, hitting the glove. So a lot of times that'll help. So you use your eyes and your ears for that, and those are usually pretty cut and dry. That's why you see a lot of the reviews in baseball. A lot of times they get those calls right.
Yeah. What do you think about the pitch clock in Major League Baseball to kind of speed the game up? You know how it used to, you'd go to a baseball game, you might be there 4.5 hours, just for 9 innings. And now it's like, I went to a Cubs game this summer, and it was over within like 2 hours and 45 minutes. There just wasn't any downtime really.
Yeah, I think the fans liked it. I was a baseball purist, so I didn't like it at first, but then as I started watching games, I was like, this game's moving along. It's not just watch this guy, take a pitch, go out, walk around, dance a little bit, adjust his gloves. And I liked it because it did speed up the game. I heard the owners hated it because their beer sales went way down.
That's right. Well, they need beer batter, the thing up in Huntingburg.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
So, but I didn't mind the pitch clock. I like what it's done to the game, and it's worked its way down through college games, and those are a lot quicker too. I still go out to a lot of USI games and just kind of sit out in the outfield, me and my dog, and we just sit and watch, and the game kind of moves on now.
And that's good.
Yeah.
So when you were here at 14, you also were keenly interested in joining the Nut Club. I mean, I remember when you started, that was the thing. You were down there just volunteering, like you go down during the fall festival and help clean the street, 10 o'clock on in the evening. And then what's the process? What was it for you to get in the Nut Club? Does somebody on the inside sponsor you or ask you, or do you make a bid? I mean, how does that work?
So really, to start off, you got to live or work on the west side. So I had that box checked, okay. But I had a grandfather that was in the club for about 40 years, so I kind of grew up, under his shadow of knowing what the club did and all that. So you kind of come down, you put in your time, you go to meetings, you have members, take you to meetings. You just get to know the people and stuff like that. Then there's a little bit of a process. Then they look through applications, and it depends on how many openings there are. Sometimes it might take. I was fortunate to get in on my first try, but there was a lot of openings that year. Sometimes it takes guys 3 or 4 years to get in. It just depends on, because it is a hard number capped at 300 members.
And you go in, and right away you become like the audio visual music guy. And we're going to talk about music here in a second, but. It seems like they tapped right into your strong suits there. What else do you do in the Nut Club that you like to do?
Yeah, so whenever I got in, everything was still kind of the old school way, and I had the technology skills, I guess, with audio, video, computers, and stuff like that. So we started doing a lot of website stuff. We elevated the audio to digital formats and just different stuff like that. The pictures, no longer were we taking pictures and sending them off to get print them.
Right. Schmidt photo.
Hey, here I took a picture, and you can already look at it right now. It was amazing how that took off. So that's kind of what we've done, and we've had some newer guys get in now that it's passed me up. I mean, technology just keeps rolling.
Sure.
And the stuff that they have down there now that put on the festival, everything from the half pot to security cameras to our website to everything is just amazing. And I just kind of sit back and all, and they've nicknamed me the Godfather, which I don't know if that's good or bad. Maybe that means I'm old. So
the great Godfather. That's what it'll be when you're old. So that in the music thing, it kind of made me think back to when you were here at 14, because kind of your signature bit was you played the music on the morning show. Back then, I don't know, the station licensing was different. We simply had an ASCAP BMI clearance, and you could play anything you wanted.
Absolutely.
You just bring your collection in, and you'd play little cuts, during the morning show, and the bumps in and out and everything, and had a theme and things like that. But you put a lot of work into that. I mean, you weren't just pulling carts off the shelf and jamming them in the machine. So why? Why?
I just I thought it added to the show. I would get a script in the morning, and I just start going through the rundown, seeing what the news stories are and something like that. Then I was like, I think this song will pair good with this one, and this one will pair good with that one, and that's how it kind of come about. There was a song by Flock of Seagulls. If you remember the song,
right. Oh, sure, yeah.
Well, we were doing a story on the Northern Lights, and there's a line in that song where they talk about the Aurora Borealis.
Right.
So it's like, well, let me put that in. So just little snippets like that. Now, there was one in Chris Staples, who was a director here,
right?
Who would be a great one to have.
I know
this.
He's on my list.
I just like I was playing, I think it was the Gap Band. You Dropped a Bomb on Me, and I'm playing it, and all that. And it's morning, it's pumping everybody up, and he goes, "Fetch, turn it down. We're doing a story on a bombing." So sometimes you hit and you miss.
Then of course toward the end of your time here, the change. You couldn't just play any old music because everything had to be accounted for, and I know that made you a little sore at the time. And you might have played. Is it true? Now I want to get this out in the open. Did you really play "Take This Job and Shove It" in every break for one morning show?
It was one of my last weeks here for. So
and then your supervisor, I remember, said, "Was that intended for me?" Oh no, what are you talking about, right? So
thankfully the rest of the morning crew kind of ran interference for that, but
they were all big Johnny Paycheck fans. Right?
Absolutely.
You can't play too much of that. So, but then you kind of took that, and of course, after you went to USI, you're still doing something in that capacity. But you kind of melded your sports and your music and your technology into one, because you handle a lot of I'm going to call it the effects, like at Liberty Arena or different places, where you're in a venue and you got music cues and lights and all that. So how do you pick the little clips that you're going to use there, little cues?
Again, it depends on the game. So I've done the music for the USI basketball and in volleyball for the last 30 years, maybe.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah. So just this other day, a volleyball match, the referee down there gave me a thumbs up because they were going to a review, and I started playing "Don't Go Breaking My Heart." Just little things like that.
Right.
Or there was a time when Bruce Pearl and the Kentucky Wesleyan coach Ray Harper.
Yeah.
And boy, those two guys, I don't think they liked each other. And at that time, my seat was courtside, right down there. So they start yelling at each other, and they're right in front of me. I'm thinking, I think the song from Rocky would be a good one. So we play that one, and the crowd gets fired up. So it's still stuff like that. You kind of have the, music,
right.
What songs, then as the situation happens,
and you have to have it on your computer, and that's made it, of course, possible. You couldn't lug around that many records back in the day, but now you got little clips and like who decided Enter Sandman has to be played second down at a football game at Wrights? Who makes those decisions?
I think maybe they just liked it, and that just kind of seemed like something that would pump the kids up or something like that. So I'm still trying to figure out what will bring the basketball team back out to the court. They usually come back out to the court about the 4-minute mark, and try to do something that not only gets them ready to go before tip off, but also gets the fans ready and something like that. So that's where it's kind of a fine line, like, all right, what works? And sometimes doesn't work. And it's like, well, I just go ahead and delete that one off the
we won't be
off
hearing
the screen.
That one again, So and you always had your laptop ready to go. I mean, if there was going to be music involved, and I guess, and you did the music for the fireworks too, didn't you put the cut together when they used to synchronize the music to the fireworks, and we produced it.
Yeah, so the old production manager here was in charge of the fireworks, so he tapped me and Todd Tipton, who also works here, and we would collaborate, and we'd actually start on the 4th of July fireworks soundtrack in November. And we picked themes. One of them was great cities of the United States. Another one was, just we'd have a theme.
Johnny Cash.
We always
Johnny Cash in there.
We had some of that, so then we would piece that together and edit. And when you think of fireworks, you got like a roller coaster. You got your big crescendos, and then you have your lulls and such. So we'd start piecing that together, and we'd run it by each other. He'd kind of work on a piece, I'd work on a piece, and then next thing you know, we'd have this a nice soundtrack. Then we'd go down and see the final on July 4th. We would see how everything melded together, and
of course now you put your drone up, which kind of segues into your other interest, which is photography, and in particular aerial photography or drones. And you were into drones before I even heard of them. So how did you find out about drones? What got you interested in that?
I was just probably messing around on Facebook or social media or something, and this was back in 2013. And somebody had a drone, and they were taking some unique shots. Everybody sees the standard shot from, the ground or this. And I was like, well, you can really get a neat perspective. I think this might catch on.
Yeah.
I remember telling
might turn into something.
Yeah. So I bought a version 1.1. So now there are, multiple versions now, and just started with that. And then whenever time to get licensed, whenever the FAA did all that, I did did all that stuff. But the funny story about that, I think might have been my third drone, because they upgrade every so often. You need to upgrade just because the technology's changed and stuff. And order it through Amazon, and it shows up at the house, and I'm sitting on the kitchen table, and my daughter Ashley, and she couldn't have been but maybe 8 or 9 at the time, and she goes, Dad, what's that? Is that the waste of money? I was like, I know who you've been talking to. So we call them a WOM now, waste of money. But
well, not really though. I mean, you've taken some. Hopefully, you've licensed some pictures in that and video over time. I know you watermark all your stuff, so people can't just use it, without permission, which they shouldn't.
And that's why I do that. Yeah. I found I think it was a realtor was like promoting her Evansville homes or something like that, and I was like, those look like my pictures.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, in talking about that, whenever I got my latest one a few years ago, I had a job and it paid for itself off in the weekend.
Sure.
So, but we still call it a waste of money.
Yeah, yeah. Well, okay. And we're not going to throw your wife under the bus. I mean, she's been with you through thick and thin here.
Sure,
many drones,
sure.
many musics, many other things.
She's very tolerant.
Yes, yes. And it's interesting. She's a modern day girl,
She
right?
is,
And
yeah.
you're right. I mean, this is the true ecumenical couple here on the West Side.
And if you really want to get deep, my son married a Castle grad, a month ago.
It's okay.
So,
those things happen.
World peace is possible.
Yeah, it is in little incremental steps.
Yes.
So when you get the drone up, what's the kind of stuff you like to do? I mean, I know you shoot fires and you help the EMA and you help a lot, but you also just do stuff for pleasure. And you often will put it up in storms, which that always makes me a little nervous because now that I know it's a waste of money, I'm thinking, well, that could be a big waste of money, if lightning hits it or something. But you've gotten some awesome pictures of wall clouds and different lightning strikes and things like that. So,
and I've always been fascinated with weather. It's working with you in Byron. And a lot of times fixing Byron's computer.
Right.
So I'm back in the weather. I was back in the weather office quite a bit. But always fascinated with weather. If there's a front coming through, a good shelf cloud. You hate to say one of the best that you could film with a drone would be a tornado. And I kind of caught a glimpse of the Mount Vernon one a couple years ago. I was a little bit of a ways, but just sunsets and stuff like that, just nature photography, but just to see stuff at a different angle, whether it's like this past weekend, I was up at Wrights Bowl for that annual Wrights Modern Day game where the Nut Club brings the flag out in the middle and stuff. I've done that one, but some City of Evansville shots and just different perspectives. I think that, maybe it makes people happy or they like to see it and stuff like that.
They do, and it gets shared and liked quite a bit. And you, of course, now this year there was a no-fly zone over the Fall Festival. Now, that apply to you since you're the Club drone?
Yeah,
okay.
So I have to apply for a waiver and working with the police, fire, Homeland Security, FAA, all that stuff. So you put in your paperwork, and we got approved. And
I don't think a lot of people realize that. I mean, to do it right, I'm sure there are rogue people that just put one up.
Yeah.
But you do everything by the book anyway, right? I mean,
you
being an
to.
Umpire and a statistician, you pay attention to detail. So you took essentially like a drone pilot's test where you studied weather observations and air traffic rules and things like that. And then when you put the drone up, do you have to clear it with the tower, or how do you do that?
So it depends. Like Evansville's Class C airspace, and if you're within 5 nautical miles of the airport, you're in their airspace and in their jurisdiction. And there is a software that you can do to put in your flight plan, basically. And there's actually a grid within Evansville on how high you can fly. Like legally, normally it's 400 feet, but like this fall festival is 200 feet, and you get a little bit further east, it's 100 feet because of the helicopters at Deaconess.
Right.
So they adjust for that.
Right.
So basically, you kind of file a flight plan with them, and it's usually automated. You get a text back, an automated text back. You're clear to fly. Here's your parameters and all that other stuff. But and if there's issues, they do have our numbers. That's part of the communication process that when you send it in. So if there is issues, they can obviously get in touch with you.
And of course, that's only added to the Nut Clubs. Where you go on their website and you see all these drone videos of different things going on. You do time lapses up there, all kinds of cool stuff. So
it really captures the essence of how big the festival has become, and you get some of those. But we also fly around before the festival and look at where they have the barricades off, to make sure that no cars or anything like that come in. So we fly and we'll take pictures of that, share with the EPD, fire, and all that. Then they might next year, come 2026, look at that picture. Yeah, here's where we had that barricade, or maybe we should have moved it this way a little bit. So we do stuff for like that as well.
So you have fun, but you're also helping out, which is kind of the whole point of your life,
Absolutely.
isn't it? You have fun, but you help out in a lot of different ways and causes. So with regard to that, what's next? What's the next big thing that you're going to get involved with?
I don't know.
You've got the Nut Club and drones scratched off you, and you've worked here. So, those are bucket list things for many.
Yeah, you know what? Being 52 now, it's almost like time to slow down. Kind of like I mentioned, this thing, that some of these younger guys take over. Kind of like what the tech guys have done with me with the internet and stuff like that, and where they've taken security cameras and stuff during the festival. And I just kind of look back and like, it's pretty neat. I don't know how it works, but that's pretty neat. So
maybe you need to conquer AI.
I have started using AI a little bit more.
There you go,
so
the Renaissance man.
I was fighting it, and now I've used it to help code some like web stuff, and write press releases. I mean, you can basically dump in the information that you want to get out there. And, being a West Sider, and, my English is a little West Side slang. So it, cleans that up and used it quite a bit for press releases and social media posts for the festival last week or 2 weeks ago.
Interesting. So that's what you've been up to for the last 20 years since you walked out of Channel 14. Who knew? You've done so much, and yet it's had a big impact on a lot of people.
Yeah, and like I said, I loved working here. I absolutely loved working here. Every day was something. I mean, no 2 days were like it, which I'm sure it's probably still that way.
Well, every day's something, yes.
Yeah. And I remember I always liked this story was the winter storm of, 2004.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Well, there were many winter storms.
that one was a doozy.
What I'm thinking of.
Yeah. So I knew how to set up the camera and the stuff in the helicopter because we had the helicopter at the time. Right. So I remember flying in. The reporter I think was Emily Sinovic.
That sounds right. Yeah.
And we're flying over 41 and 64 because they had that shut down. We'd been flying all day long. I mean, I forget how many times we refueled. But Celeste gives me a standby at 4:50 for the 5 o'clock news. I'm thinking, well, that's kind of early, but all right, maybe we're going to cut in because it's a state of emergency going on. So I turn on the light on the camera because it's sun setting, and it's not like the LED lights we have now. Those things got hot.
Oh no, you could bake a pizza under one of those things.
And it had a gel on a little diffuser, and so we're waiting. Don't hear from Celeste, and Emily, have you heard anything? No, we haven't heard anything, but we're standing by. And what, a minute or two later, Emily's looking at me going, I'm like, everything all right?
She's pointing at you.
Yeah, it's
in a panic kind of way.
Fire.
Right. Yeah. So you're on fire in a helicopter over a snowstorm.
The pilot just like, everything all right back here? And we're like, we're fine. So I just grab it and throw it out the window right as we get ready to go on air. So just things like that. I mean, you never knew what was going to happen.
And that was quick thinking of you. I thought you were going to tell the story because you were working then too, and I hadn't forecast maybe as much snow as we wound up getting. I was heard to say a dusting tomorrow, and we had about 11 inches of snow, most of which fell right here in the parking lot at Channel 14 as it turns out.
The sledding.
And we were done for the night. And I think it was you and Oscar and Mark Scott and a few other people that worked here. And we go out, and the snowplow is working in the parking lot. The snowplow driver shuts it down to get out and give me hell for missing the forecast. You remember that? Oh, Waterman, he's yelling. And every time I see Oscar, he always brings that up. And I never say dusting on the air anymore with regard to a snow forecast. Because,
Absolutely.
It's the kiss of death. It will cause trouble. So follow that advice. Just don't say the word dusting.
No, you'll be fine.
Keep on keeping on, and Fetch will be always Fetch.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate. Whoa! I just about ate my microphone here. I appreciate you coming out here, Fetch, and telling a few stories.
Yeah.
Telling us about you. I never knew all this stuff about you till I Googled you. It never occurred to me to Google you. I mean,
hopefully there was no felonies or anything.
Well, there was quite a bit in Google. You might want to check that out. But no, there were none.
Because we were talking about drones in the festival. There was one guy that flew over the festival, and he got caught by the FAA. And whenever they went to because they know where you take off from.
Right. Sure.
And whenever they got him, they found out, it had felonies. Well, it was kind of disappointing. I got a ton of text messages. Was that you?
Because naturally, because you're associated with the drone.
Yeah. Did you not see that he also had felony? I mean, what kind of person do you guys think I am?
Well, we just want to clear the air here. Fetch is a good, clean man and a good man at that.
Nothing on my permanent record.
Okay. Not yet. All right. Fetch, thanks for coming out here tonight
on
Inside Look. If you'd like to listen to all of our podcasts, you can do that wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can also watch on the 14 News YouTube page. Be sure to check out our companion podcast, What's the Trend, with Aaron Weeks and Casey Mason. That runs every Friday. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next time on Inside Look.